strategy.
Alrighty, the lights are flashing. The guys are getting into game. Our last game of day number 1 here at Crossbar Stars 2019 Grand Finals. KINGZONE up against Super Valiant Gaming.
Well, it's going to be a big one here for KINGZONE, isn't it, if they do get the win over Super Valiant. But that is a much easier task when you say it rather than when you have to do it, especially considering Super Valiant here will indeed start on the defensive side.
Those poor guys. I'm getting some mad deja vu.
Well, look, we haven't even seen anything happen just yet.
Yeah,
so
let's give him a chance.
Yeah,
I got faith in Michael. And
I mean, it's already a different looking kind of an attacking side here for KINGZONE than what we saw from Baisha, with a lot more presence towards middle. And Michael, a lot of experience on his shoulders, but he didn't have a great performance last year, if you remember, Ian.
Yeah.
When he was here.
Pretty bad.
So I think this is another opportunity. We talk about the opportunity for redemption for Super Valiant and for China. Well, maybe the same for Michael as they creep their way down the ladder. They're very aware of this angle that Yazzie could be holding, but they're not aware that he is actually holding the angle, and that'll be the end of one player. 15OL, though, does manage to get the trade back, and 9, however, some say the best player in the world. I'd have to agree with them. Does open up the account. Double kill for him there. And instantly double Q as well onto the scoreboard. So look, the big names there for the roster of Super Valiant getting their paces set quite nicely in the first round. And that was over in the blink of an eye.
It's like 5 Terminators. N9 just getting 3 kills within a second. Nice opening frag there by 15OL.
Yeah, Emson going down as well. I mean, he's a big player for Super Valiant. So, as you say, not a bad start for KINGZONE. And for 15OL, I mean, that's his 3rd kill for this game. I mean, yeah, we're only 1 round in, but he's looking good so far. If you've got your sniper putting in work, especially on the attacking side of Port, I think that really opens up a lot of opportunities. So this could well be something that bears fruit.
They're just waiting for SV to get aggressive, but I don't think it's going to happen. What a weird position it was for Yazzie in that last round with the sniper rifle.
Well, a lot of weight being put on the shoulders here of N9 by Super Valiant, as he's the only player over toward the B side of the map at the moment.
Look how aggressive he is. He's just holding off that choke point. I mean, he double Qs there as well. So.
Well, yeah, WQ does rotate back across, but if the timing's not great there for N9, it could have been pretty difficult for him.
I mean, that's just the game. That's just the game, Jordan.
It is indeed. But, well, again, you look at N9 and you say there's probably no better player than him to put in a position like that. Double Q does back away. N9 still not giving away his position, and this could be disastrous for KINGZONE. A little bit spoken too soon, though. Ying will manage to drop him, and now it's just Yazzie. Very nice entry into the B bomb site here so far. Clean shots, though, from Yazzie, but rolls around the corner. There's a couple of players looking in his direction.
He absolutely ate that grenade as well, Jordan, but not the play to make there by going up the staircase and revealing yourself to 2 players at once. We'll see what happens. A great start there for KZ. They're already on the board. So, although very similar start to what happened with the Baisha All Gamers game. The scores were close at the start, but then once the defense got a roll on, or once Bean asserted himself.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be where the difference might be made, is if Emson can sort of work his way into the early rounds with that Orm. Obviously, he did have it at the initial stages there. He was taking a peek down mid, but he swapped back to the AK. So it seems like Super Valiant sort of do prefer the 5 rifle setup on the defense here once we get into sort of the mid rounds. 15OL certainly has been having some success with that Orm, though. So there might be a world in which Emson does actually just get forced to play with the sniper to try and counter what 15OL's been able to do. I mean, that's assuming SV has some difficulties defending things here, which now in a 5v5 situation, it's a different looking story, isn't it?
Absolutely, and Emson yet to get on the board either. But this very slow attacking style by the North American roster maybe just getting Super Valiant to move around quite a lot. They still have all of their smoke grenades though. Nothing really going on. This is what we come to expect last year, if you remember, Jordan. This very slow, methodical pace. 1 minute left in the round before we decide to do anything. And then it all pretty much explodes. smoke grenade comes out to bait any utility. They've got one grenade coming in from N9.
Well, KINGZONE certainly have shown their hand here on the B bomb site. Should be a faster rotate across from Super Valiant. WQ caught by that flash and just gets taken down. N9 doesn't get too much done either. It'll have to be the rotators here from Super Valiant to do the dirty work. And Emzen did well coming in to find one, which keeps it at a 3v3. And KINGZONE now have to try and get the bomb down, but they are getting pincered from both sides with 4Me holding off from the warehouse and Emzen on the rotate across from mid. Brando has to take the challenge and he'll do so well. 10 seconds now on the clock though for him. And it just doesn't seem like it's going to be possible. Too many players to deal with there. And Super Valiant, look, it wasn't the cleanest of rounds. It wasn't the greatest of rounds, but it was a solid round.
It was good. They completely flashed WQ and N9 getting into that B bomb site. But then afterwards, they weren't able to do anything with it. They didn't get the bomb down. Emzen coming in on a wide angle, still able to get multiple frags. Wasn't enough covering fire from KZ, so that was their letdown.
Bit of a tag early on in the piece there for 15 OL.
Yeah.
And this time Emzen persists with the Orm. So it's a little change up from Super Valiant. Perhaps expecting something more towards the A bomb site rather than B. I think over towards A, you almost always will want to have that Orm. But towards B, the jury's a little bit more out. The angle's a little bit more favourable for the rifles.
Yeah, also the flashbangs can come over the wall, make you very vulnerable to those, so not ideal.
Well, again, not too much progress from the defensive side in terms of looking for information or trying to push aggressively or anything like that. 4Me has a little bit more of a forward position than you might ordinarily see, but again, I think that is as a result of Emzen with the sniper being up on the A bomb site, so he'll be sort of a crossfire in a sense for Emzen if KINGZONE try to push aggressively here onto the A site. Flash grenades do come out, and Emzen,
they went too early.
It's going to just go and grab the first one. That's Ying2, and you're right. They went before the flashes popped. They connected onto Emzen. Doesn't matter if he's going to hit the shot anyway. WQ goes sliding past mid. Gets a lot of information. That'll be the opportunity for Yazi as well. And maybe let's see if 4Me is going to do the same thing. Emzen's getting rushed down by Brando, but the shots do not connect. And that'll give Emzen another opportunity, which also incidentally gives Brando another opportunity as well. It's a bit of a messy round here from both sides. And 4Me won't be pleased with that spray either. Brando does get traded on down. Yazi does a good job in mid. But it's just happening all over the map right now. There's no cohesion right now from KINGZONE, and they still aren't able to get into the bomb sites, and that will be the major problem at the end of the day. A 2v1 now for Michael. WQ and N9 are not players that you'd want to go up against, and that is exactly the reason why.
It just looked like no matter where KZ went, what they were trying to achieve was they were trying to force the rotation out from Super Valiant, and KINGZONE was trying to get onto that A site. But unfortunately, they got caught out, obviously taking that duel before the flash explodes, and Super Valiant counter-rotating back towards B, and then there was that whole fight in middle. That opened up Emzen to be able to fall, but then again, it wasn't enough because the KINGZONE players were just too far around the map to capitulate onto A and get that bomb down. So that's a real problem for them. They're going to need to win every single aim duel if they want to do a strategy like that, which might work against any other team.
Oh, well.
Except Super Valiant.
Yeah, Super Valiant, certainly not a team that I think you can employ that against. And look at this push from Emzen. He's already found 15 OL. This will be a free kill for him. Headshot, of course, to boot. And that's a nice start for Super Valiant. And that's a kind of a push that's really going to put a bit of doubt back in the mind of KINGZONE. They're not going to be sure what they'll be able to do in the early stages of the next couple of rounds. It is traded back down, but I think that does more harm than good for KINGZONE, even though it's 1-for-1 trade.
It's good that it's a trade, but and I mean it's obviously going to do better than harm because having a player advantage, Jordan.
No, not necessarily for this round in particular, but I mean for the context of the half.
Yeah, so they're going to need to be more vigilant and preventing those counter pushes out from Emzen in the future. But at the same time, getting a 4v4 is pretty good. The HP deficit definitely not working out in their favour either. And it is looking fairly telegraphed that it's going to be an attack onto this B site.
Yeah, well, there is two players there for Super Valiant. N9 is one of them. Start off the proceedings with a headshot. Here's another opportunity, and that'll be his second and now third for the round. Very solid stuff from N9 and continues to put big numbers on the board for this Super Valiant roster year in, year out.
He just has a way. He's just a Terminator. That's what I'd call him. He's just a Terminator. If they're on your screen, chances are they're going to die. Mm-hmm. Even if it's 2 or 3 people. I don't know how.
You almost back him every single time.
Yep. And here we go. Just like we said, they're going to need to change the way they approach rounds. Well, they've stacked up all 5 of them.
It's a bit more of a forward defense here from Super Valiant, and KINGZONE are not prepared for that, not aware of that at all. N9 is still hanging around the corner as well, but it's a firefight through the smoke, Ian. And that has certainly not gone the way of KINGZONE. Definitely not how they would have liked to have. That is a full clean wipe from Super Valiant. And I think you're back to the drawing board there as KINGZONE.
Well, okay, I'd scrap that one from the strategy book because you can't see through smoke. And I'm not saying that Super Valiant can, but there's only so many places you can actually be. Whereas for SV, it was pretty obvious that they could come in from any single angle. And, well, that's just another opportunity gone begging for KINGZONE. And, again, it's not looking like a good, close game at this point. The scoreline very indicative of the actual levels here.
Emzen's already pushed down mid as well, and this is the exact spot where you saw him make that aggressive push from. This time, it's KINGZONE that rushes into him, and Emzen will find a couple. Survives as well and continues on his merry way. Coda lucky to get out of there with his life. So too maybe his 15 OL, but you'd have to argue that Emzen is certainly playing with fire, and it is a risk versus reward. In the end, though, a 2-for-1 is an apt reward, I think, there for Emzen.
This is actually just a SV playground at this rate.
Yeah.
They can't even trade out Emzen without losing multiple players in the process and getting the whole team strategy just cancelled to come in and fight one guy. And then M9 just does that.
Well, that's what I was talking about in the last round where Emzen did make that push. Like, yeah, it's a 1-for-1 in that particular round. So in that individual round, it's an okay result. But what does that mean for the context of the next few rounds where KINGZONE are going to have to be thinking about these kinds of pushes from Super Valiant? And it doesn't even necessarily mean just in mid. It can mean over towards B or towards A, anything. It's just something that now is in the back of the mind of KINGZONE, and they can't play their own game, which is a big problem.
Yeah, they can't even execute a strategy, you know? They can't even do anything right now. It's 3 versus 4, and they're stuck now in a 1v3, but what do you do when you've only got 3 players left? Do you have a strategy set up with the little utility that you have? And against Super Valiant, it's like, well, where do you actually go on the map that they don't already have control of?
Yep. Time for KINGZONE to put the pedal to the metal here. Oh, nice shot from Emzen. He actually connected onto 15 OL there, and, well, does it again. So it proves it's not a fluke. And this is the scary looking at Super Valiant that you know we sort of expected to see last year with Emzen, N9 and WQ leading from the front. And they're all having a very solid performance here against KINGZONE. This is the exact roster that you don't want to be going up against in your first game at CFS.
The thing is, even if you have a couple of star individual players against Super Valiant, it's like it's not even enough. Like a couple of them. And they need to be firing on all cylinders every single time they verse.
Yeah. Well, you're not really getting that sense from anyone on KINGZONE.
Not at the moment.
I mean, 15 OL started off well with the Orm, but aside from that, I don't really feel like anyone's kind of stepped up here.
Well, previously with the NA rosters, there's always been 1 or 2 star players that really just shine.
Yeah, Famous being a very good example of that.
Superman as well. So,
but do you have that for this KINGZONE roster?
No,
so far, no one's stepping up.
Exactly. So far, they've been a bit quiet. I think I just saw someone with 0-7.
Yeah, I did too.
Was that Michael?
It was. For me, has gotten behind KINGZONE as well. WQ is waiting for them on the other side of the doors. It's just going to be a sandwich here. And it's not the one that KINGZONE likes. Yazi and For Me now in a 2v1 against Michael, who is easily dispatched of. And that's just another one on the board for Super Valiant. WQ and Emzen there on your screen. 2 prolific players in Crossfire Stars.
Yeah.
Just continuing the same storyline that we've been selling about.
It's the Emzen
Chinese
sandwich
Crossfire.
with the WQ sauce.
Lovely. Couldn't think of anything I'd much rather than that.
Again, just Emzen. Hey, I'm going to rush middle, guys.
You do something.
Yeah, see how we go. At this point, it's like, well, KZ's strategy is like, let's set up across the map, draw out their utility, do all this. They don't even get to set up across the map because Emzen's just pushing down middle. So this is the kind of chaotic effect it has on whatever you're trying to organize, particularly as the in-game leader.
Well, WQ does get caught. That's maybe a little bit of a moment of relief.
Means nothing
for KINGZONE, but yeah, very quickly it not only does it mean nothing, but then he gets traded out anyway.
Killing one individual from SV at the start of a round literally means nothing for these guys. It's unbelievable. They can win every round, even if it is 4v5.
Yep. If it's not Emzen, WQ, or N9, as you're seeing in this round, it can be potentially Formy, who's already found a couple, and now N9 gets behind Michael. It's just a different brand of Crossfire, isn't it, from Super Valiant at the moment? You know, they're not playing within the rules of the game. They're doing what they want.
Who needs teamwork when you have these individuals? Yeah, this is like a kitten playing with its food right now.
Mm-hmm. Not a bad first half there from Super Valiant. In fact, that might be an understatement. It was a very good first half from Super Valiant. And KINGZONE, you know, I think you can't feel like too bad as that roster. You would have come into this game sort of knowing that you were the underdogs, that this was going to be a rough one. So
and that it's Port and you're on the attacking side first and all of that jazz. But then you get a bit of hope. You know,
take it in your stride.
Someone says to you, you've got a good chance here. You know, here's some hope. And then Super Valiant just come in and say, Kyle, I'm going to get your hope and I'm just going to crush it.
Yeah.
And that's what happened here. Poor guys.
Poor Kyle.
Had their hope crushed.
Well, it's not over yet, Ian.
That's what happens when Kyle goes around spreading vicious hope rumours.
It might look like it's over, but it's not just yet.
Oh, it's over.
If I had to put money on it, I probably would say
we won't do that.
But still a mathematical possibility that KINGZONE can come back into this game. Obviously, moving on to the defensive side.
I think we did have a pretty crazy comeback last year with like Black Dragons versus RE Legends.
Double sniper setup as well on the defense for KINGZONE. So
desperation.
Perhaps.
Reeks.
Quite a passive setup from Super Valiant, though. Obviously expecting that KINGZONE is going to try and do something aggressive on this defense, which to an extent they kind of are. You can see Brando at the moment probing in mid.
It's still a different meta as well. So nothing like what we saw with All Gamers versus Baisha. But this is Super Valiant saying, yeah, let's just finish this. Let's just take our time, not get ahead of ourselves. Let's not let KZ get any rounds. That's what they're saying right now by waiting till this 1 minute.
They've seen All Gamers get a 10-1 over Baisha, and they kind of want to make that same impact, stamp that same mark on
not leave
Crossfire.
Anything to chance as well.
Mm-hmm. You know, if you can do it, I can do it better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, 1 minute left in the round here, so this will be where we start to see Super Valiant trying to make some inroads into what looks like now to be the B site.
Okay, here's the pressure on Ying, who's there individually on his own.
Brando gets the timing right, though. Double headshots for me and Yazi to go down. Couldn't have asked for a better start to the round here for KINGZONE, but they need to consolidate and convert this round.
He needs to get out of there, to be honest.
Does he, though?
Another kill, that's good.
How many more can Brando get? Not many. Emzen and WQ are still a force to be reckoned with, and even 30 seconds still left on the clock here for Super Valiant, so they do have a way to make some inroads in toward A. Michael is up there at the moment, does get flashed off. Emzen trying to push on up, is covered well by Coda, who is watching the cross, but WQ is hitting some good shots at the moment, and this might well be doable for him. A risky peek from Coda. You don't want to be seeing that at all. Take this one in a 2v1. Don't give him the 1v1s because he can well win it. And the fact that that comes down to a 1v1 is really not a good sign for KINGZONE, I don't think. Yes, they've won the round, but they started off with 3 kills. It was a 2v5 and ends into 1v1.
Yeah, absolutely. And my issue there is also that Michael just allows them out towards that site as well at A, whereas we saw Bean take a very staunch approach to that and not even let them out of the containers. No utility required. They just came waltzing out, and I think that's what also caught KZ off guard as to why Michael let them get that far out.
Well, here goes take 2 for Super Valiant. This time a little bit more of a quicker play in mid. Emzen being the one to lead the charge, making his way up ladder. Not seeing too much just yet, though.
Fire in the hole!
Very slow rounds, like we were used to. We just, you know, like those Black Widow rounds where you wait a minute for something to happen. But what that is just
Brando. Oh, they were waiting for him this time. So quick to adapt as well as Super Valiant. You know, they see a little bit of aggression in the last round from KINGZONE and, of course, from Brando in particular. And this time they've got someone waiting for him. It's a different area of the map, yes.
It just makes sense.
But they're aware of the possibility. Michael misses the first shot, and that could be disastrous. But 15 OL and Coda are going to help him out. And it's Super Valiant. It's really a bit of a rough attempt to get into this bomb site now. But Formy has taken the round into his own hands. And he is going to shut KINGZONE out of it. That's 9 up on the board now for Super Valiant. And match point available for them as well.
Well, quick game's a good game.
So they say.
And the problem there is KZ had a pretty okay defense until, again, Super Valiant made up so much ground before Michael was even able to do anything. He got completely flashed out of the fight. I just feel like you can definitely see the difference in ability between Michael and Bean. Very similar approach by SV Gaming, but still Bean's way of holding it was by far more effective.
Oh, Emson so clean. There goes 15 OL, and that's the opener that Super Valiant were looking for.
Okay, here we go.
Very quickly, though. Coda and Brando do manage to equalize and actually go one better. It's now a 3v4. That's as a result of some more aggression from KINGZONE, which they're not prepared to slow down in. Emson will punish them for it, but then very quickly gets traded out by Michael. So Super Valiant have been thrown off a little bit by what KINGZONE are doing here. Formi's on the bomb site, though, on B, and he's again caught KINGZONE off. There goes Ying, there goes Coda, and now the B bomb site is in control of Super Valiant, and Formi's done it himself. He's won the game for Super Valiant 2 rounds in a row, really sort of pushing Super Valiant through them. And that'll be that. Super Valiant to continue on into the winner's bracket here.